What's going on, everybody? We are back with an exciting one. Could be a bit of a long video, so strap in. First off, if you do enjoy this video and find it useful, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. I love making guides like this, and I really appreciate all the support. Now, today's video is going to be covering every single relic that exists in Rogue Legacy 2 as of the Arcane Hallows update. Now, according to the patch notes on the Arcane Hallows update that the Cellar Door Games devs posted, there are 29 relics in Rogue Legacy 2 as of the Arcane Hallows update. Now, we're going to be covering every single one of those relics, and I'm also going to be talking about kind of my opinions on them. I'm not really going to be doing like a tier list video like I did with the classes, at least not in this video. I'm just going to be giving my opinion on them, on all of them, telling you what they do and stuff like that. And one last order of business before we get into these relics. The order we're going to be doing this in is just purely alphabetical for the 27 traditional relics that you might find. And then I'm going to be telling you about a disabled relic, a relic that I consider to be kind of separate, as well as two others that you can get from the curio shop, which aren't really relics, but they kind of are. If you've played the game, you probably know what I'm talking about. But without further ado, let's finally get into it. First up on our list is Amaterasu Sun. This is an epic relic, and the effect for this is that your weapon applies or extends burn damage for 2 seconds. So whenever you attack, your weapon's going to be adding burn damage. If you already have burn, so like if you're playing as a chef, it will make the burn effect last 2 seconds longer. Another cool thing about this relic is seemingly a reference to Okami. If you have played Okami before, the main character is Amaterasu, and the icon for this relic is pretty much identical to the sun. There's a little bit of difference there, but it definitely seems like a reference to Okami, and a nice little reference at that. Next up is Ambrosia, which is a common relic. And by the way, if you don't know what like the rarity means, the rarity sort of dictates the resolve cost for the relic. So if you hear me talking about the rarity, that's what it means. Just know the higher rarity is going to cost you more resolve. So Ambrosia, after you take damage, you are invincible for an additional 1.25 seconds. It might not sound like a lot, but it really does extend your iframes, and it can be pretty useful. It's one of those ones that whenever I see it, as long as I have over 100% resolve, I always take it. It is such a great relic to take, especially if you can pair it up with Rage Tincture, which we'll talk about later in the video. It is fantastic synergy, and if you have Rage Tincture, definitely you need to pick up Ambrosia because it synergizes amazingly. Alright, third is our first one I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of. This is Antikytheria. This is a rare relic. You gain 10% more magic damage per enemy defeated. Your bonus is lost when hit for a max of 50%. So basically, whenever you kill an enemy, your magic damage goes up by 10%. If you get hit, taking damage, your bonus is going to go away. Simple as that. Your bonus maxes out at 50. This is pretty good for any magic-based characters. If you just love using the spells in general, this is a good pick. Next up is Atropo Scissors. This is a common relic, and the critical damage from spells and weapons is increased by 15%. Now, never hurts to have more damage, especially crit damage. I don't take this one that often, purely because, not because it's not good. I mean, the damage, 15% is good, but because whenever I crit, it's typically going to kill the enemy anyways. This is one that would really be good for an assassin character with increased crit, or if you're fighting a boss where you're not going to just kill the enemies in one crit anyways. I can see it being useful, but in a typical run, I don't really find myself picking this one that much. And now we are on to what used to be one of my favorite relics in the game, Body Buffet. So Body Buffet is a rare relic, and defeated enemies have an 8% chance of dropping meat. Now the reason this used to be one of my favorite relics is because the synergy it had with Gnawed Bone was amazing. It was fantastic. Too fantastic, in fact, which is why they had to nerf it. And because they nerfed it, it's no longer like my favorite relic in the game, just because that synergy is not there. I'm not too upset about it. It's fine. It's still pretty good. I mean, dropping meat from enemies is always going to be useful. You're always going to need more meat, unless you're doing an osteo run, of course. But it's always a fantastic relic to take. I pick this one almost every time, along with Ambrosia, like I mentioned earlier. The next relic is Catalyst. This is a common relic. Now this one deals 20% bonus damage to enemies with a status effect. This works really well with Chef, obviously, because Chef has a built-in status effect with the pan. It also works well with Ranger, with the Canopy, providing that spore effect. And really any spell, if you have a spell that provides a status effect, it's going to be pretty good with Catalyst. Because, though, it is kind of situational, I don't find myself taking it that often. If you're playing a Chef, you definitely would want to take it just because you're constantly dealing status effects without even trying. It takes no extra effort to deal that status effect because it's going to happen on every hit. So it's basically pick it every single time on a Chef. Other characters, it's very situational. So depending on your setup, you'll want to decide if you want to take it or not. Next up is Clothos Spindle. This is kind of the counterpart to the Atropo Scissors from earlier. Instead of increasing the damage from crits, Clothos Spindle increases the crit chance for spells and weapons by 10%. Now, Atropo Scissors, like I mentioned earlier, it's decent to take. This one, however, I don't really think it's that good to take, purely because the crit chance, I don't really feel like I'm doing any more crits than I normally am. I just feel like it doesn't have that much oomph to really be worth the resolve that it is. Now, it is a rare relic as well, so it is more rare than Atropo Scissors, and because of that, it costs more resolve. So it's not really, to me, it's because of that. If it was a common relic, then maybe it'd be worth taking. But because it is a rare relic, I just feel like it's just not worth that extra resolve. Now we get to one of the more boring relics, if you will. Cosmic Insight is a common relic. Restore 50 mana whenever you take damage. Simple as that. Doesn't sound too exciting, right? 50 mana is a lot, to be honest with you. If you find yourself taking damage a lot, and you also like spells, this is the perfect relic for you. Because if you're taking damage, you're constantly going to be refilling your mana, and you're going to be able to constantly cast spells. So it is a pretty good relic in terms of that. I'm not somebody who's too big on using spells. I typically just overpower with the weapon. But if you love using the spells in the game, and you find yourself running out of mana, and you also take a lot of damage, then this relic is for you. Otherwise, I would probably pass on it. And now we are at our first Oath relic of the video. Oath is the highest relic rarity, and this is Diogenes' Bargain. So you can no longer gain gold, but you earn 200% more XP. So basically, you can no longer get any gold in the run, but if you're trying to grind mastery levels, then this is a perfect relic to take. Now, this comes with the caveat of, this relic sucks if you find it late. You need to find this really early in your run for it to really be worth it, because otherwise, like, what's the point? But also, if you're already maxed in mastery, then you don't really need this relic anymore. This relic is completely useless to you if you are maxed in mastery. And if you want to be getting gold, obviously don't take this. The 10th relic of the video is another common one, Fate's Die. Defeat 6 enemies to load the die and instantly defeat the next enemy. This is an interesting one. It's very passive. You don't really notice the resolve hit because it's so cheap, and every 6 enemies you're gonna insta-kill it. This is great if you are a low-level player and you're not really one-hitting enemies. If you're already one-hitting enemies, this relic means nothing to you, and you probably shouldn't take it. Here we go with another common relic, Freon's Reward. Opening chest restores health equal to your ent, which is intelligence. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. This is another one where you probably want to take it early on. If you take it later on, you're not really going to have many chests left to open to even heal. But if you see it early on, definitely take it. Not too much downside with this one. Next up is a particularly fun one, in my opinion. Glowing Ember is another common relic. You deal 175% more damage on every 5th hit. So basically, Imagine like on Fate's Die, you insta-kill enemies every, 6 enemies. This one, you're basically going to do super damage every 5 hits, which is fantastic against bosses. I love this relic when fighting bosses because you really start to pump that damage in every 5 hits. So it's a fantastic one to take. Even against regular enemies, it kind of comes to that same thing as Fate's Die, where you're not going to notice it if you are a high level player because you're already going to be one-hitting enemies. Low level player, definitely take this relic. Next up is another one I mentioned earlier in the video, Gnawed Bone. It is a common relic. Eating meat while at full health increases max HP by 10%, max of 3 stacks. Now what this means is it will do it a maximum of 3 times. Now the reason why this used to be so great with Body Buffet is because there was no limit, and you also didn't have to be at max HP. This relic severely got nerfed in recent updates, which kind of sucks, but it really needed to be. You can get to like crazy HP values before recent updates. So this relic is nowhere near as good as it used to be, but it is still a good pick. On to another interesting oath relic, Heavy Stone Bargain. So your weapon does 200% more damage, but has a 2-second cooldown. Now, 2 seconds is a long time, I'm going to be honest with you. It is a very long time. You may see this relic and be like, oh boy, 200% more damage, let me take this. Cooldown won't be so bad. When you're in a room full of enemies, you're really going to feel that cooldown. I personally am not a big fan of taking this, but it is very, very class dependent. It is not near as bad on some classes as it is on others. Right now, Gunslinger is kind of broken with it, but I'm sure that'll be patched in the very near future. But this is very dependent, and also very dependent on your skill level, because that 2 seconds you are going to need to be dodging in a room full of enemies. So be very careful taking this if you plan on doing challenge rooms also. We are now past the halfway point of the video with Hermes Boots. This is an epic relic, and you are immune to static spikes. And there's been a lot of back and forth on this relic with what spikes it actually protects you from, whether that is the wall spikes or the ceiling spikes. Right now the description says static spikes. It's intended to block spikes that don't move, essentially, is what that comes off as. Whether or not that is actually what's happening, it's kind of inconsistent right now, but that'll hopefully be stabilized soon. Now with back-to-back epic relics, we are on to what a lot of people probably really love as a relic, is Hyperions Ring. This, you revive from mortal blows and regain 50% of your HP, can occur one time. If you don't know what that jargon means, you basically revive when you die. Simple as that. You get an extra life with half your HP. If you're a barbarian and you have this, you get so much health back. It's a relic that you should definitely take if you're struggling. If you're low on health and you find this relic, take it immediately, because when you die, you're going to be able to come back. It's just a great relic, and it's useful in so many situations. If you're good at the game, bad at the game, you can still find use with this relic. Back to the common relics, we have Icarus Wings. You lose your jump, but gain 3 double jumps. So this basically gives you a bunch of jumps. Now something that the description doesn't note is that all of your jumps become shorter. So you kind of do more of like a little hop. It definitely takes some getting used to. Even I'm still not used to the different jump height, but it is useful. You do get 3 extra jumps, so it is pretty good. It lets you access certain things. If you don't have the double jump heirloom yet, then this can kind of somewhat be a replacement for that. If you have the double jump heirloom and you have vault runes, taking Icarus Wings is a bit overboard, but it can be a bit fun. You never know. Next up is Ivy Seed. This is another common relic. You create an ivy canopy every time you do an aerial recovery. Now, you might be asking, what is an ivy canopy and what is an aerial recovery? So an aerial recovery is taught to you in the tutorial. If you take damage, you can hit the jump button and do a little flip, and you do an aerial recovery. It's pretty good for getting out of situations and getting away from damage. Ivy Canopy is a ranger talent, so put 2 and 2 together. Every time you do a recovery like that, you take damage and you do your little flip. You're going to create a platform, and you're going to land on that platform. So it's pretty good. I don't take it that often, just because it's one of those things where I feel like I'm protecting myself after I take damage too much when my end goal is to take the least amount of damage possible. So I try to avoid relics that kind of help me after I take damage like that, because I don't want to be taking damage in the first place. But if you are having trouble with the game and the difficulty, it is not a bad relic to take at all. Here we go with another hard to pronounce one. Lachesis Measure. It is Lachesis Measure, probably. It is an epic relic. Enemies defeated with a critical hit restore 7.5% of your max health. This one, I never take this one, to be honest with you. It's too situational. It is a healing relic. You do get to heal. But you have to be killing enemies with a critical hit. Which, I mean, how often does that happen during a run? On an average run? I couldn't tell you. But I feel like it doesn't happen enough to where this is worth taking. I guess you can argue that this might have good synergy with Clothos Spindle, which increases a critical chance, like we talked about earlier. But it being an epic relic, I just don't take it, to be honest. I am not a fan of this relic. I'm sure it has some uses, but I haven't found it that useful yet. On to what might be the most basic relic in the entire game is Lotus Pedal. It's a common relic, obviously. Increases your total mana pool by 25. That's it. You just get 25 more mana. Nothing too special. I could say it's not a good relic, but it's also a common relic. It doesn't cost much resolve. It doesn't hurt to have more mana ever. This relic is kind of just there. If you have extra resolve to spend, you may as well take it. But, there's likely better relics to take in the choices you're going to have in your runs. We have a very interesting Oath relic up next, Pandoras Bargain. The art and everything is obviously relevant. A reference to Pandora's box. You take 1,000% more damage. To counteract this, you need to defeat 10 enemies to purify this curse, and you'll gain 40 resolve. Now, as of recording this, I believe there is still a bug with Pandora's Bargain overall and taking multiples. I don't know the full details of the bug, so I can't really recommend taking it. But basically the gist is, if you take this, you need to kill 10 enemies before you get hit. I do remember seeing a comment from Reet, one of the developers, that is their Discord handle. I do remember Reet saying that this is intended to kill you. You are not supposed to survive this relic when you take damage. I guess just me personally, I don't think that risk is worth the resolve. I wouldn't risk my run just for extra resolve. That's just me though. Here we go with Rage Tincture. We talked about this relic earlier in the video. Here it is. It is a common relic. While invincible, deal 100% more damage. Simple as that, and you can already tell why that would be great with Ambrosia. Ambrosia increases your invincibility frames, so naturally you're going to have more time to do more damage. Rage Tincture by itself, not great, but with Ambrosia effect active, it's honestly really good. You get way more attacks in that extra Ambrosia range. I believe there is I don't know whether it's a bug or if it's intended. It does work with Duelist Roll, I believe right now, but the intended effect is that it's supposed to only work from damage you take, and that's the iframes it's supposed to work on. So if it works with Duelist Roll, that is a bug, but as of now it may be patched out. I haven't been able to test it recently though. Next up is an interesting rare relic, the Skeleton Key. This will open locked or melted fairy chests. So if you don't know what a fairy chest is somehow, and you're watching this video, there are fairy rooms in the game which, if you've beaten, will either give you a rune or red ether, which are used to upgrade runes. Fairy chests are kind of puzzles. Some of them are like a platforming puzzle, some are just defeating the enemies. But if you mess it up and you have a skeleton key, you can go open the chest anyways. It's good, especially if you're trying to grind for the extra, like if you're trying to grind for like level 3 rune upgrades right now. This is good to have if you fail a fairy chest in the Stygian study, The Stygian study is where you're going to find the high level runes. So if you fail a fairy room in the Stygian study, definitely try and go find a skeleton key, and you can go open it up and hope for the best. Next up is Steel-Toed Boots. This is a rare relic. Spin kicks now provide armor break for 2 seconds. Honestly, I never take Steel-Toed Boots. Maybe it's just because I'm over leveled right now, but I feel like most enemies die within 2 seconds. I've come to learn that 2 seconds is a long time thanks to Heavystone Bargain. Enemies don't really live that long, so I just don't really use it. Also, I don't really spin kick that much unless it's against Enoch or the slugs and bats where you have to spin kick them. I don't use spin kick in combat, so this relic just isn't useful for me. If your playstyle is different from mine, then this might be a relic for you, but personally, never use it. The next relic is a pretty infamous one. The Future Successors Bargain is an oath relic. Increase your current gold by 35%. Now, the caveat with that is it kills you. Now, the other caveat to that is if you have a fantastic full clear run and you see this, go to it, because it's going to increase your current gold 35%, and you're going to have so much more gold to spend. This will turn like 30,000, something like 38,000 into like 50,000. The more money you get, the bigger the benefit this is going to be. This is how you see people getting like 70, 80, even 100k runs is from this relic. Always, always, always take this if you full clear. If you full clear the map and you have this relic, you need to be taking this. You're doing yourself an injustice by not taking this relic. Here's another interesting oath relic, the Serrated Handles Bargain. Deal and take 100% more damage. Now, this is the very definition of high risk, high reward. The only way I can recommend this, if you're a skilled player, you should definitely take this, because who cares if you take more damage if you don't get hit? Now, if you have trouble, getting hit by enemies, you're getting hit a lot, do not take this at all. The damage increase is not going to be worth it for you if you're getting hit a lot, because you are going to lose your health very fast with this relic. Now we are finally at the last traditional relic, the War Drum. It is a rare relic. Every relic increases your damage by 5%. So if you are somebody who hoards relics and you have like 5 relics, if you take this, your damage is going to increase by 25%. This is a great relic to take, but only if you have a bunch of relics. If you don't have a lot of relics, I definitely don't recommend taking this, because it won't be worth the resolve. So like I mentioned, that is the last of the traditional relics. We're finally through those. Now, there are a couple of other ones that I'm just going to quickly talk about. There's the Koya Shell. This is currently a disabled relic. If you've been playing since launch, you'll know what this relic is. I'm not really going to go into detail of what it did. It was just kind of invincibility for 3 hits, but it didn't really work really well within your resolve system. So they took it out. They want to try and rework it, but whether or not that happens, we'll just have to see. Now, there are a couple other kind of weird ones. The Lily of the Valley. This is required for progressing through the game, through the story, if you will. You need to get 2 of these to open the door to Nama. When you acquire these, it actually says relic acquired, sorry. So in a traditional sense, I don't really see these as relics, obviously, but the game does call them relics. And to wrap up the video, we should also talk about the weapon and magic blessings. If you have ever used the curio shop, you might have noticed that there's like a little cross in the bottom left of your screen. Whenever you use the curio shop to replace your weapon or spell, you get a weapon or magic blessing, obviously depending on what you replace. Not really a relic per se, but it is down where the relics are, and I figured it is worth noting because it is something that you can get as a bonus. And with that, we are wrapped up. I've been talking for a long time going through these relics. If you made it to this point of the video, I really appreciate the support, and I really hope this video is useful to you. Don't forget to like, subscribe. I would love to make another guide like this. Just comment down below what kind of guide you want to see next. I can go over the new classes, I could talk about what I think of maybe the armor in the game or the runes. Just let me know. I'd be happy to make a video of it. And until next time, see you guys.